Hello there, welcome into this latest edition of the SID's Weekly Report. I'm Sports Information Director Daniel Gallegos, joined alongside Graduate Assistant Sports Information Director Jordan Bergeron. And Jordan, more or less week 2 of our fall sports season. Men's golf got into the fray this week, joining already going on teams volleyball, football, men's and women's cross country. The men competed in the GAC preview in Oklahoma City, so a chance for our team and every team in the Great American Conference to kind of get a feel for the golf course where the conference tournament's going to be held this upcoming spring. The men's golfers finished 8th out of 10 teams in that tournament. We had Jacob Etherington and George Adams, a couple of juniors, finish tied for 33rd. It was an interesting tournament. It was a 2-day tournament, but on that Monday when they participated, they played a couple of rounds. And for the Muleriders in that first round, they had really an outstanding showing, a 291 team stroke total for that one. Etherington and Zach Harbor shot even par, 72, so that was definitely a bright spot. And then, kind of having to turn around and play another 18 holes for a second round on that Monday. It must have been a little bit tough. All the teams obviously had to do it too, but we saw a little dip in some scores. And then the final round on Tuesday. So overall, not too bad, I don't think, for the men's golf team. It's a team where they're returning quite a bit of guys. They didn't have any seniors last year, and so they're continuing to build upon their experiences and learning golf courses. And I'm not too certain if any of these players have played at that golf course. I myself, not a very good golfer, know how painfully difficult the game of golf is. For these collegiate golfers to have success, obviously it's fun to watch, but at a course that maybe you're not familiar with, those types of things come into play. But overall, a pretty good start for the men's golf team, and the women are getting their fall season started this upcoming week, and we'll have more or less a recap on them on our next SID weekly report. But also volleyball still in full swing. Had their first conference match, and then went to another pretty difficult tournament. And you were covering them for the most part.
That's right, Daniel. Tuesday they opened up the GAC play with OBU, and if anything with this volleyball team, you're always going to get a highly entertaining game, which is what we got. It was a 5-set thriller, of course. They went into the 5th set. They built a 10-7 lead in the 5th set, and that's when we thought, they may have secured the game. OBU would tie the match 12-12. We would go up 14-13, and that's when Hannah Rice's serve went long, and then a block and a kill later, OBU comes away with a win, and I know it stung to not end up with a win in your first conference match.
Yeah, they've had the Lady Mulerider volleyball team. They've had a couple of matches where we look at it, and even talking with Coach Grimm, I think they feel that a couple of things maybe go their way. They end up with the victories. That one was a tough one. I think it was either the first or the second set in that match wound up going to 30 points. So it was really against OBU. It was a back and forth match, first home match of the regular season for the Lady Muleriders. We had a great crowd that started off with that. That helped with the atmosphere, and I think anytime you're playing at home, that kind of helps your motivation to play and kind of wills you a little bit. But it was a tough way to lose that game against Washita Baptist, and then obviously going into the weekend, another tough tournament. How the Lady Muleriders do there? Yeah,
Dan. Let's go back to OBU real quick. It was the 3rd set, 32-30. But again, it was Amanda Monge, senior, looking to step up big. She had 13 kills, but it's a name we keep recurringly hearing. Allie O'Banion, the freshman from California, she led with efficiency, and she had a 400 attacking percentage, which is always good to see out of a freshman. I'm sure Coach Grimm is really excited for her to move forward in the season. First game of the tournament, they played Arkansas Fort Smith. The Lady Lions were receiving polls in the national D2 poll before the tournament started, so it was no easy task, and they ended up losing in 3 sets. McNee had 9 kills, but it was Arkansas Fort Smith. They had a tandem, Michelle Walker, Jessica Anderson, their middle and outside. Walker led in kills, and Anderson stuffed the middle with blocking, and it made for a 3-set sweep for Arkansas Fort Smith. And then going into the next game, they played host A&M Commerce, and I like to call this game Deja Vu OBU, because it happened pretty much the same way. It was a 5-set thriller. Monge again led with 15 kills. O'Banion again led in efficiency. Almost a similar game, and we actually took a bigger lead in the 5th set. We were up 9-5. Unfortunately, the Lions came to score 10 of the next 11 points, and they actually stole that match to end the first day on a rough patch for the SAU.
Yeah, we keep talking about these 5-set matches, and it's kind of, it's a little bit different because you're going to 15, you switch sides on the 8th point, and it really, you've already played four sets to that point to get into 25. If you have to go more, then you go more. But really, that 5th set sometimes, not necessarily that it's a battle of wills, but there's one team that can catch fire, and if you start to string together some points, sometimes at that point in the match, it can be tough to overcome that. Lady Mulerider's obviously, throughout this season have kind of struggled in terms of the win-loss. But what do you kind of gauge as the temperature on the team? You've been able to kind of travel with them and kind of, despite even though the outcomes aren't there, what are you seeing as positives with this team?
Well, going back to what you said earlier about maybe the rhythm of the game, Coach Grimm, he used 3 different starting lineups in the last 3 games of that tournament. He's using less subs to try to keep that rhythm of the team, to keep the rhythm on the court and not have to sub in and out as much. As far as for the positives, Amanda Monge, the last week she led in kills by 19 kills. But in essence, it has to be more of a balance. You have to balance. Monge has to get some kills. Obenya has to get her kills. Talbert has to get her kills. In essence, they'll have 6 different attackers in a set on the court who have to all produce at high levels. So, and another positive, Logan Talbert. She came off of being academically ineligible against OBU, and she struggled early. 30 minutes before game time, she was activated. But she ended up with that game with 4 blocks, I believe. And over the 5-game span, she ended up with 21 blocks last week, which is huge to have her presence in the middle of the court.
Yeah, I think we both feel that the Lady Muleriders are a very talented team. They had, their top 3 hitters returning in McNee, Tolbert, and Monge. So those ladies are back. They've also built around it. But so even though with the tough start, really in essence they've only played 1 conference game, and so the grand scheme of things, a very difficult schedule to start off with. Not the results they would have wanted to, but there is still probably 99% of their season, if you look at it from a conference standpoint, still available for them to kind of turn things around, and they're not far off. If it would be one difference if it was constantly 3-0 defeats, and they're not necessarily very close. But when you're pushing teams to 4 or 5 sets, you're close. Just a few things need to, I think, fall into place for the Lady Muleriders. Hopefully they get that going this upcoming week. Not an easy task too, going on the road. Another conference match at Harding, team that's picked to win the conference again. They won the regular season last year, and Arkansas Tech, I believe, got the tournament championship last year. But why not start a positive streak right here, and with the team that might be maybe overlooking SAU with the start they're off to.
Right.
If you're from the perspective of Harding, so hopefully Lady Muleriders can get things going this upcoming Thursday. Cross country, another strong showing, both men and women. 4th annual Lois Davis Invitational was hosted here at Southern Arkansas. It was a little bit of a different format. The college race was held Friday night, and then the junior high and high school was held Saturday. Coach Service told us last week that he was expecting over 600 runners total between both days to be there. They had a good turnout on the collegiate side, and the women and the men, strong showings. How'd they do?
Yeah, well, let's start with the men. It was again Mason Powers who led the men this time, the junior college transfer from North Iowa Community College, and he placed 6th to lead the men to a 2nd place overall finish. But the bigger story, it was Carly Langley again, and Carly Langley, the senior and junior Virginia Nate, finished 1-2 overall in the women's race, and they led their team to a 1st place finish, which was huge.
Yeah, there was talks going into Friday night. Obviously, that was when the weather was starting to cool down here a little bit. There was threats of rain, so it was kind of gloomy, a little windy. And talking with some people, they were obviously we know Carly Langley can put up a really low time, and she continues seemingly to get better and better faster each week. But with the conditions of the weather and the course, some were thinking that she was going to try to get under 18 minutes. Didn't know if she would be able to with the factors as far as the weather and things like that. But she wound up pretty much obliterating 18 minutes with a 17:44. You mentioned re-breaking her own record. It's really going to be fun to see how low she can get that number down, because it seems like each week she's the one competing against herself. The Lady Muleriders came away as the team champion in that, so that was another positive thing to see there for the Lady Muleriders. A strong overall team. I think they might have had, if I'm not mistaken, at least four runners finish in the top 10, so overall very, very strong there. And on the men, Texas A&M Commerce wound up coming away with the team title. They're a very strong cross-country program. And then also, maybe a little bit of a surprise, to me at least, was Wiley College also coming in there. I believe they maybe finished second in the team. No, Southern Arkansas finished second, excuse me. But they were that impressive. They had 2 or 3 guys in the top 10, did Wiley College, and maybe a lesser-known NAIA school, so not necessarily on the NCAA front, but I think the men did very well considering the competition and some of the individual standouts they had. Again, led by Mason Powers. It was nice to see Chris Wallace up there too. We've heard that he's kind of trying to battle back from a little bit of a groin injury over the summer, so hopefully he'll be able to continue to progress throughout the season and get faster, and some of the other runners that Coach Service has. So it was a good showing for men's and women's cross country over the weekend, and going in lastly into football, first road games for football. They made the trip to Ada, Oklahoma. Weather was not an issue at all. It was actually perfect football weather, some would say. It was crisp fall air. It didn't get down too cold once the sun went down. And the Muleriders got off to a very, very quick start. They started off 20 to nothing over East Central. Looked good in the first quarter. The Muleriders held East Central to -3 yards of total offense. So the defense really started to show out in that first quarter. And then kind of the game got weird there for a while. You're sitting there watching the game. I was able to go and watch it from the sidelines. They get up 20-0, feeling really good about ourselves, and and then at that point, the East Central, their next drive in that second quarter, they started to move the ball. They went to a no-huddle offense, and they found a little bit of a rhythm, moving the ball, eventually score on that drive. But the Muleriders were still, keeping them at bay a little bit, and kind of one of the turning points there with a shift in momentum. East Central gets to within a touchdown. There was 20-14. Southern Arkansas comes down and scores. 44 seconds left at the end of the first half, so that was big for momentum. But then that extra point attempt was blocked, returned by East Central the other way for a 2-point conversion on their end, and right there, that kind of took some wind out of their sails. And East Central gets the ball back with under a minute left. They march it down and are able to kick a field goal as time expires, 45-yard field goal. So not a chip shot by any means, and that made it only a 7-point lead at halftime. Eventually, during the course of the second half, East Central tied it, and then they go ahead. And then once they go ahead in that fourth quarter, East Central scored 21 points. Southern Arkansas scored 14. So it was a very high-scoring fourth quarter. Both teams threatening to score 50 points. There was a couple late turnovers for Southern Arkansas that kind of didn't allow them to go ahead and maybe put that game away. I think it's a game that a lot of people look at it and would like to have a couple of plays back. You look at it and you're like, would have loved to have started off 2-0, but as it stands, Muleriders with the tough loss. It's always tough going on the road to try to pick up a win of any sort, and the East Central fans, they had a good showing out there. The band was into it. It was a really good atmosphere. So it's kind of a tough showing, but a bright spot there was Aaron Johnson, the senior transfer, 5 catches, 122 yards, and a touchdown. His touchdown was a very impressive 65-yard touchdown pass that tied the game at 40 all with just under 11 minutes in the fourth quarter, and it wasn't like it was a 65-yard go route. It was a short pass. He made a couple of guys miss and took it to the house, and so to see that explosiveness out of him was very much positive. And on the defensive end, you look at it, you're like 47 points. How can there be much positive on defense? But really, there was a lot. Muleriders were able to force several turnovers. A.J. Steele, senior linebacker, was all over the place. He had 12 tackles, forced a fumble, had an interception. So he had himself a tremendous afternoon, or evening rather. Just really tough to come away with that loss. But again, in the grand scheme of things, it's 1 out of 10. And the Muleriders have 8 more games left, and so obviously the coaching staff probably today going over the game tape and seeing what they can correct and trying to move forward. And that's really the focus. As much as a difficult loss like that is, the Mulleriders, obviously, on the other week, they could have been the ones, on the losing end with a very difficult situation there. And so being able to bounce back is going to be key, for really all of our teams. Football and volleyball, be able to bounce back, golf to continue to improve, and then also our cross-country teams also continuing to improve as they progress in the conference season. And so wins maybe not there for us during the week, but overall I think there was quite a few positives within it, and looking forward to this next week for Mulerider Athletics. Nothing at home, so it's going to be, if you want to catch the Mulleriders this week, you're going to have to kind of stay tuned to your computers, muleriderathletics.com, for all the live links, everybody going on, where they're at. And so unfortunately nothing at home, but the week after that we'll get ramped back up. 3 volleyball matches on the 23rd. It'll be good to have the Lady Mulleriders back. You have any closing thoughts on the week that was?
Yeah, well, you talked about it a little bit. Our wins and loss maybe not have been where I wanted to be, but for both teams, for football and volleyball, it seems like the recurring theme, we get spurts of good play. And unfortunately, we need the good play at the right times to come away with the wins. And I just want to touch real quick on the second day of the Commerce Tournament. We didn't get a chance to touch on it. Some more positive things here. We had Dallas Baptist, the first game Saturday morning. Monji led with kills with 13, but the biggest thing was we made too many errors. We had 6 service errors, and we had 6 reception errors to DBU's 2 apiece. So when you give away those free points, it's so hard to win a game. And then against Texas Women's, who was also receiving votes before the tournament started, we were down 1-5, then 4-10 in the first set, and then they brought it back up, tied to 13. I mean, they ended up losing the set, but you can see the good spurts of play from this volleyball team. And then in the third set, which may have been most impressive, they actually won this set. They were down 7-10, and then they go on a 7-1 run out of nowhere. So you can see good things coming from this team. It's just putting it all together and actually coming away with a win from a match.
Yeah, I think probably maybe then the theme for this upcoming week will be consistency for all of our teams, and also to kind of minimize those maybe self-inflicted errors and kind of things that maybe give the opponent a little more of an advantage. That's kind of a very general sports statement, but obviously we see when those things are minimized, results in wins. When they kind of are stacking up, it's a lot tougher to come up with some victories. But we appreciate all your hard work throughout the last week, and again, you can check muleriderathletics.com for full recaps, live stats, live video links, live audio links, anything you need to keep yourself connected with Mulerider Athletics. We have your destination at muleriderathletics.com. Jordan, appreciate it once again.
Thanks, Dan.